Welcome to the lecture for Module 7 on critical theory and post-structuralism. In this lecture, we're going to look at critical theory and post-structuralism separately, but consider them together because they share a lot in common. So we're going to define them, look at their concepts, assumptions, and an example, and then provide some semblance of criticism based on what they have in common. So to begin, critical theory and post-structuralism are not IR theories, but they refer to a range of approaches that seek to critique and cast doubt on existing ideas that are presented as inevitable or true. So to begin, critical theory critiques repressive social practices and institutions in order to liberate people and promote alternative ideas in the hopes of changing society. Some of the basic concepts associated with critical theory include emancipation, which involves freeing people from the modern state in the economic system; universalism, where social and political principles are believed to apply to everyone, like justice, for example; production, the relationship between economic patterns and socio-political arrangements, which is sort of a nod to Marxism covered earlier; and then finally, communication, the patterns and ethical principles that are used to discuss and coordinate human behavior. Some of the assumptions underlying critical theory are as follows: that global politics is constructed collectively by many different actors across economic, cultural, and ideological spaces. Truth is not absolute. Our theories are based on hegemonic interests and hidden biases by the people who are writing about them. Emancipation is a process that requires open, inclusive dialogue about what communities share in common. Importantly, when we're talking about the units of analysis, people, not states, should be the center of politics. And finally, it is through the process of critique that we can create a fairer system of global relations. So an example of critical theory in action in the IR space can be seen if we analyze the World Trade Organization, which is a large, economically focused intergovernmental organization. From the perspective of critical theory, the WTO is a way of trying to promote the interests of the business community and the well-heeled capital-owning class, not unlike Marxism would project. And so it is through our process of understanding how the World Trade Organization came to be and the fact that it continues to promote the interests of the wealthy and developed countries that we can better understand how it affects international relations in order to free ourselves from the assumptions about its inherent goodness, if we're thinking about this in terms of neoliberalism, where maybe the WTO performs a kind of coordinating function, helping states to maximize their wealth. A critical theorist would look at that and say, actually, it's helping to perpetuate inequality. Post-structuralism rejects the notion of objective truths. It urges us to focus our interpretations of reality and explores how meaning is created through language. And this is one of the biggest points of difference with critical theory, is its focus on language. A couple of concepts that are relevant to this include discourse, which is language that's used to advance a certain narrative, and a regime of truth, which is a combination of elites, discourses, language, and binary oppositions like day and night, good and evil, right and wrong, that make a ruling discourse unquestioned and excludes other ways of thinking. Some of the assumptions associated with post-structuralism include that truth and knowledge are subjective. They are produced through these inequitable processes. They are not simply discovered by people. Dominant discourses reflect the interests of powerful actors who impose their views on everyone else. And finally, discourses can change over time and be destabilized. So an example of post-structuralism can be seen in the construction of a binary like us versus them, which we see play out a lot in international relations. If we're talking about the nation state and immigration, it's immigrants or even illegal immigrants versus those who are citizens or natural-born citizens, those who belong to a country, those who do not belong to a country. We see it used to describe good countries and evil countries, like President George W. Bush did when he described the axis of evil early in his administration in the wake of September 11th. A couple of the criticisms associated with both of these theories include that they are not scientific enough and they lack a coherent research program. Another criticism is that they are either too normative like in the case of critical theory, where it specifies the goal of what our research is supposed to be accomplishing, which is creating a fairer world. Or they're too relativist, like in the case of post-structuralism, in which there's no sense of right and wrong because we are rejecting these binary constructions, but that may leave us afloat when trying to understand whether something could have a good or negative impact in terms of international relations. So again, in general, while these theories are not specific to international relations, you can see how they can be applied profitably to discuss international relations in order to get us to think about some of these unchallenged assumptions that we have learned about in some of the other theories.